Hey guys, I'm Mustache Wolf, and we're back with the Innsmouth case. We had a sultry woman approach us, asking for our PI skills looking for her missing daughter. She definitely wasn't on the level. She mentioned her daughter couldn't swim that far when we brought up her father. And then she mentioned the father died in a fishing accident, or was called to the sea, as his crewmate said. So she gave us money, traveling expenses. We headed to Innsmouth. The bus clerk was hidden behind darkness. We got a gold hook for leaving money in the bowl. We jumped on a rickety bus, sat next to a fish man in a hoodie. Got some not so helpful answers. And we ended up in Innsmouth. Talked to Granny with a horrible name. Headed to the arcade, and then we found our mark, Tabitha. So now we're leading her home, and from what she's saying, this isn't really where she lives, and her name isn't even Tabitha, it's Evelyn. So let's see where this kicks off. Fine, we're nearly there, but please, if you really must tell me, what is your problem?
For one, I really don't live here, and I don't know why my mother would have given you this address.
From the corner of your eye, you notice two fishermen leaning on some barrels, looking over to you.
And secondly, this is the area of Innsmouth where foreigners often get lured to only to never be seen again.
Oof. Yeah, repeat that part about foreigners and never being seen again? Can you repeat that bit about foreigners and never seen again? You get a strange feeling in the pit of your stomach and realize that you probably should have paid a little more attention to your surroundings. Is Innsmouth dangerous after all? Why do you never listen to other people?
So,
says Tabitha, a bit flustered. She clearly didn't expect you to listen to her.
This is the area in which visitors are lured, usually under the false pretense of getting to see some new sights. And then they come here, but never return home. Do you know what I mean?
Explain it to me like I'm 5. How the hell do you know all this? The little girl winces. You feel a bit sorry for her. Your tone implies that Tabitha's caught up in this whole thing without really meaning for it to be the case.
You overhear stuff.
She says awkwardly.
And in school, we learned that foreigners are bad and that they get what's coming to them.
Huh?
It's pretty obvious, isn't it?
Tabitha raises her eyebrow and gives you a challenging look.
I mean, did nothing strike you as odd today?
Yes, no, or maybe. She gives you a pitiful look. At least she's not letting the matter rest. The brief exchange has left you puzzled. It's very hard to think when there are people staring at you from all sides. You never been good under pressure. You decide to believe her. You stop abruptly. It seems counterproductive to your personal health and safety to keep walking. Tabitha seems pleased about this. Her strange eyes rest on you. So do the eyes of the fishermen a few yards behind you. Are they the same ones you walked past earlier? Did they follow you? Or are these simply men with the exact same deformities? Both. Okay, you are being followed. This is not good. Not good at all. Cool. You keep repeating to yourself like a mantra. Cool. The girl tugs at your hand to get your attention.
You know what you're doing?
Do I look like I know what I'm doing? Out of the corner of your eye, you see that the fishermen have turned to one together and are exchanging a few words. I think they're supposed to be one another. They look back. Then they look back over to you. Your mind is racing. Pretend you're having a heart attack. Let's talk to the fisherman. You quickly approach the two fishermen who look at each other confused. You know that feeling very well, the confusion when someone you're supposed to follow covertly starts talking to you directly. Oh, look at this guy. You turn around. Excuse me, gentlemen. Sure, let's try to distract them. I guess. Oh no, what's that? You cry in mock horror and point at the barrel of rotten fish behind them. What? Both turn around to look and you're seriously surprised that this whole trick worked. You run off without a word of thanks or goodbye. She looks as if she'll cope. Hey, the sloot's getting away. Annoyed grunts and shouts reverberate behind you. You can also hear steps. Your two tails have dropped their cover and now they're following you. During your escape through the neighborhood, you see even more strangely deformed people. Their eyes follow you, but no one dares to stop you. After a few hundred yards, you're out of breath. You lean against the wall in a small side alley and pant heavily. You're almost expecting to hear footsteps following you, but no, you've managed to shake them off. You wander the streets. The dark clouds spread out from the sea like claws that ominously reach out for the town. Reach for you. The sun is set, the temperature's dropping fast. The air, too, gets cooler, and rough winds whip through the alleys. You're lost. You have no idea how to get out of this godforsaken town. And as if that weren't bad enough, you also underestimated the September weather on the coast. And the real cold temperature is still yet to come. Scattered raindrops do not bode well. You aimlessly wander the streets. The narrow alleys are a labyrinth of simple wooden fishermen huts. At least you're not completely on your own. Look at that. Even at this late hour, there are groups of people out patrolling, with torches and pitchforks, and knives and nets. Huh. Stay in the shadows. They're not gonna like me. It's not necessarily the knives and nets that make you worried. It's the limp that many of the villagers have which makes you nervous. The people don't walk. They waddle, stagger, stumble, and shuffle with their upper bodies. The people don't walk. They waddle, stagger, stumble, and shuffle with their upper bodies lifted up like malicious trolls in a fantasy film. You found refuge behind some old barrels in a narrow street. You would love to simply huddle up there, but in the middle of the alley, you're without protection against the rain. The pitchfork mob still hasn't noticed you. You wonder what to do next. Chances of finding a friendly face are low. Let's get out of here. One alley follows to the next. The ground is muddy with knee-deep puddles. The paths are lined with rundown huts consisting of nothing but a few bricks and corrugated iron roofs piled on top of each other. You must be in the old town, an area that is definitely not being advertised in the travel brochures. The very moment your cerebellum wants to complain about being bored, you run straight into the arms of the patrol. Ah, damn it. Although they have not noticed you yet. Undecided, the group has gathered in the middle of the road and seems to be discussing their options. Nevertheless, they are alert and keep checking their surroundings. You reckon that they will discover you soon because here in your position, you're a sitting duck. Your heart's pounding. I feel like covering my face is gonna... No, you know what? These guys are dumb. Following the intuition, you grab a piece of cloth dangling from a barrel. The torn cloth stinks of rotten fruit, which is a welcome change from the rotten fish that you've been smelling the whole evening. You walk up to the small group of townsfolk. There! Screams the front man of the group, an old fisherman with a white bushy beard. He waves his torch in your direction. His friends limp towards you. Their rags and rain jackets and rags. So many sentences just jar my mind. Their rags and rain jackets and rags flap awkwardly against their bodies. Their rags and rain jackets and rags flap awkwardly.
Cthulhu Fatagan.
Considering the limping horde of deformed lunatics that managed to surround you quickly, the light of the torches... Considering that the limp horde of deformed lunatics, they managed to surround you quickly. The light of the torches dancing in the rain makes the already scary faces look even more bizarre. Nervously, they lick their bulging lips while they stick out their torches, knives, and pitchforks to keep you in check. You wonder if the people of Innsmouth suffer from radiation poisoning. It would explain so much.
Hey, you there.
The leader of the mob spits at you. Oh, damn it. There you were, hoping to be able to sneak past the creepy group, but somehow you must have caught their attention.
What are you doing here all alone?
Yes, we are looking for outsiders to sacrifice. After a day in Innsmouth, you think you know exactly what these people want to hear. Well, I'm looking for outsiders that I can sacrifice.
Well, then don't sneak around alone. Come with us.
The leader squeals. Impatiently, he beckons one of his lackeys.
Ishmael, you got another net?
Sure, Abe. A man with a rather unfavorable mutated face hands you a small fishing net. It is perfect size to throw over individual people or a smaller group of children. You nod in recognition of the solid craftsmanship, and Ishmael gives you an angry look. Or is it a smile? It's really hard to tell with those skin flaps. Your group moves through the alley of the old town. Again and again, leader promises the men luck and wealth if only they manage to make a sacrifice to Dagon in time. The search remains unsuccessful. More precisely, it would have been unsuccessful if it had been your plan to capture people as part of the Pitchfork mob. What has been successful, however, was your plan to get closer to the town center. The streets have become a bit wide and you no longer feel like a mouse trapped in a labyrinth. You have a rough idea of the direction in which you can leave town. Now all you have to do is break away from the group unnoticed. Apart from you, there's not a soul on the road. Eventually the group leader loses it.
Nobody, absolutely fucking nobody, is out at this time anymore.
He clenches his fist.
No tourist, no hacks, not even one of those stupid landlubbers. Not even this pathetic private investigator.
Private investigator? It should not come as a surprise that your name is also on the list of roving search teams. But hearing it firsthand still gives you a queasy feeling. Keep calm. If you want to get out of this alive, you should make sure that you don't attract any unwanted attention. You would love to check the piece of cloth that you have wrapped around your head, but then again, you don't want to draw any attention to it. A dilemma. At least no one seems to be paying you too much attention. The men are too busy limping through the alleyways of the old town like a startled flock of geese, in hopes of picking up a few more unsuspecting tourists.
What if we check the hotel again?
One of the henchmen asks, with an appeasing gesture, as if the impatient old fisherman was a wild animal that needs to be calmed down.
Gilman hasn't seen anybody all evening. He's not at the hotel, damn it.
Well, they already know I'm a guy. You know what? We're gonna do the or she. Just for comedic effect. Or she, you remark. The old fisherman narrows his eyes. The men who were just in front of you take a step aside, get a better look at you.
She?
The latter repeats. I'm just saying it could be a woman. I'm just saying it could be a woman. He explains, shrugging your shoulders, apathetically. That's true, Abraham, says someone from the back of the group. True. Ishmael nods at you and gives the troop leader a slightly peeved look. He throws his arms in the air.
I'm not saying the private detective can't be a woman, goddammit.
Yeah, let Ishmael deal with it. Under all the overlapping Under all the overlapping skin folds, Ishmael pulls a face. Abraham, I think we've heard enough of your passive-aggressive games. And is that liquor I smell on your breath? The other villagers murmur in agreement, but do not dare to look Abraham in his eyes. The old fisherman massages his temples. He looks at something terribly interesting on the floors in front of him.
Things used to be easier,
He muses.
If the woman did not obey, we threw her into the abyss.
You wonder if Abraham is talking about the metaphorical abyss.
You know what?
Abraham throws his net over his shoulder. He looks very tired.
I'm going home now. This
He makes a circular hand movement around all of you.
used to be fun, but that was a long time ago.
He seems lonely and lost as he wanders down the alley. You look after him. What, now we're best buds? What is this?
He doesn't have a wife.
Someone in the group mumbles. Someone is sighing. So unprofessional, Ishmael says, when Abraham is gone from earshot. No wonder we didn't catch anyone. The group disbands. They leave you on the street all by yourself. Finally. Rush through the streets of Innsmouth. The narrow labyrinth paths of the old town become wider, and you even manage to get a sense of where you are. The path is going slightly uphill, a sure sign that you're approaching the city limits. If the moonlight wasn't completely hidden by the clouds, you would have been able to see the ocean from here. As it is, the horizon is nothing but black. You still think you can hear the sound of the waves, but that's absurd. That's impossible. The further away you are from the sea, the better. With each step you take, your head becomes a little clearer and the sound of the waves weaker. Boston. You gotta go back to Boston. You've made it. At least you leave the streets of Innsmouth. They had closed in on you so much that the whole place felt like it was suffocating you. A vast void of darkness lies ahead of you. The lousy little coastal town lies behind you. You swapped it for a bumpy dirt road and a parking lot whose motorized inhabitants glisten peacefully in the moonlight. At least it's not raining anymore, but it's still freezing. You take a deep breath. The pressure in your chest that had built up during the day now finally dissipates. Sweet relaxation. You'll revel in it as soon as you made it back to Boston safely and have firmly planted your behind on your leather couch. But how are you going to get home now? I'll walk if I have to, damn it. Nothing will stop you from leaving this godforsaken town. You'll walk the few miles home if that's what it takes. It wasn't that far, was it? Granted, your memories of how you got to Innsmouth in the first place are already a bit fuzzy, but this is still the northern part of the East Coast. How long can it really take? You can detect every mile from your journey from tax. No, you can't do that. Even a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. That's right. Be positive. Find your zen and all that jazz. Doesn't matter how difficult the task is. What's important is that you start. With this sentiment in mind, you take your first step. Suddenly, your legs cramp up. After some less than graceful jumps, the cramp fortunately goes away. Under your feet, sand and pebbles crunch as you set off on your journey home. The moon illuminates the path that lies before you, a spotlight on this final act of your adventure. You're so sleep deprived and tired. As you look around again, you notice once more how so many things in Innsmouth are makeshift. They've really skimped on everything, you think to yourself. Endlessly repeating to your right are an avenue of trees, and to your left, fallow fields. Just like in those cheap cartoons from the 80s, in which one simple background image is repeated over and over again, a wooden sign. You are now leaving Innsmouth. Okay, that was the plan after all. This was the plan after all. You keep walking along the path, and on, The row of trees to your right seems to be unending. Okay, you keep moving. And moving. Then sigh. Again, you are now leaving Innsmouth. As if that needed any more elucidation. Let's look at that sign more closely. Wooden boards nailed together haphazardly and written on with matte red paint. Not a masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination. Always the same stupid text. You are now leaving Innsmouth. Suddenly you realize something. All the signs are identical? All the signs are identical. Down to the last small detail, you could swear it. They're on the last letter where the paint had been applied too thickly and then had slowly trickled down the sign. Okay, keep moving. Yet another sign. Again and again. You are now leaving Innsmouth. You're starting to get a bad feeling from this. It's not actually that complicated. You're walking in a straight line, simply moving forwards. The explicit goal: to put distance between yourself and this godforsaken hellhole. Why do you feel like a mouse trapped in a labyrinth? A laboratory rat observed by cold, cruel eyes during a hopeless escape attempt. Your heart is pounding. Turn around. Stop. No. It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. A voice whispers. The voice is harsh and rough, like a voice that doesn't speak very often. Well, I messed that one up. Should have read ahead a little bit. And that's a shame, because what it says makes a lot of sense. You don't feel like you're actually moving forward. It's like you're stranded, a fish out of water flapping about on land and slowly suffocating. You jerk yourself out of these dark thoughts. You turn around, prepared to walk the same many hundred yards that you just walked. But to your horror, you realize that Innsmouth is still right there in front of you. Have you been walking in the same spot for the last 10 minutes? If you ever make it back to Boston, this is definitely an episode that you should discuss with your therapist. The parking lot is surrounded by a fence made from some simple wooden beams. You almost gracefully jump over the fence and find yourself surrounded by many cars of different makes and different generations. In addition to recent models, which you can see every day from your office window, there's some real classics on display. The kind that still have a real horn attached to their body. Aren't the owners worried that their antique cars might get stolen? In the middle of this overflowing parking lot in the dead of night, you consider the options. So, it's kind of a nice little twist that they're going with a, I guess, somewhat more modern take on it. Normally, the Cthulhu mythos takes place in the 40s, around that era of time. There are a few. Let's keep wandering around. Let's see what we can get. See if there's anything else. There must be a better way to get out of all this than stealing a car. You walk aimlessly across the car cemetery and stroll past the many pickup trucks. You make a detour over to the antique cars and stroke your fingertips over the sandy windows of the minibuses. There's no cab stand anywhere. You've already gotten used to it, but there's still not point reception on your cell phone. What? There simply is no other solution to your problem. How else are you supposed to leave this place? Stealing is such an unpleasant word. Borrowing indefinitely sounds much nicer. You could break into the car, preferably one of the newer models, one that screams out, "Take me, my battery still has some juice left." Step 1, break in. You need to hurry up. There's no time for any extravagant stunts. You would love to smash the car window with your elbow, just like in the movies. Your weapon of choice, a stone that fits snugly in your fist, and will soon make an intimate acquaintance with the car window. You aim, and the stone meets no resistance. The car window is cranked down. Fine. If If you're responsible, some psycho might come along and steal the car. Without much delay, you pry open the plastic dashboard. You half worry that many scenes from the TV in which someone short-circuits a car are all just made-up nonsense. But today must be your lucky day. It actually works. The car engine is howling. You put the car into reverse and maneuver it out of the narrow parking space. The headlights illuminate the many parked cars which have been assembled here over the decades. A shiver goes down your spine. That happens a lot. Is that the, key of something changing? The car dashes out of the parking lot and chases down the dirt road. Something tells you that there won't be any oncoming traffic tonight as you steal it. As you steal the car from the dirt road onto the next country road, you're overcome by a sudden sense of relief. The engine roars and you speed off into the dark. By the way, the paintings for this is beautiful. Boston, November 13th. You jerk awake. Only the pale moonlight seeps through the blinds of your apartment. It must be very late in the night. You're soaked in sweat, as per usual. You sit up on the edge of the bed and try to calm down. You're safe. You're at home. You've managed to put an end to their schemes, the kidnapping, and all their lives. You've escaped, but you're still under the spell of Innsmouth. Wait. Schemes and lies. Oh, alright. Ending 1. You returned to Boston. You did everything you could. Alright. Wasn't expecting to get a, oh, can I? Oh, okay. Yeah. Wasn't expecting to get through it that fast. Or an ending that fast, I should say. There's supposed to be multiple endings. But, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll play through, try to get another ending. And I'll see you in the next one.